What if I told you that the Bible's greatest deceiver became the father of an entire nation? Yes, you heard that right. We're talking about Jacob, a man who literally stole his own brother's blessing and deceived his blind father on his deathbed. But his story is much deeper than it seems. Jacob was born holding his twin brother Esau's heel as if he was already trying to overtake him from the womb. And that was just the beginning. His name means supplanter or deceiver, and he lived up to it in a way that would change the course of history forever. Get ready, because what you're about to discover about this man will challenge everything you thought you knew about the biblical patriarchs. This is not a story of a perfect hero. It's the raw story of an imperfect man used by God in extraordinary ways. Shall we dive into this journey? The rivalry between Jacob and Esau began before they even took their first breath. Rebekah, their mother, felt the twins fighting inside her so intensely that she went to seek answers from God. And the answer she received was prophetic and disturbing. 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples will be separated. One will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger. Imagine carrying that revelation. When they were finally born, Esau came out first, all red and hairy like a wild animal. But Jacob came right behind, clinging to his brother's heel as if trying to pull him back. Esau became a skilled hunter, loved by his father Isaac. Jacob was the opposite, quiet, calculating, preferring to stay in the tents. But it was precisely this cunning nature that would lead him to execute one of the Bible's boldest schemes. And it all started with a simple plate of food, a moment of weakness, a decision that would change everything.
Esau was returning from a hunt, exhausted and starving. The smell of the lentil stew that Jacob was preparing invaded his nostrils like torture. "Give me some of that red stuff, I'm dying of hunger," Esau shouted desperately. And it was at that moment that Jacob saw his opportunity. With calculated coldness, he looked into his brother's eyes and said, "First, sell me your birthright." Birthright? This was no small thing. It was the right to inherit double the father's wealth, lead the family, and receive the special blessing. But Esau, dominated by hunger and impulsiveness, responded with disdain, "I'm about to die. What good is this birthright to me?" And there, for a bowl of lentils, he sold his future. He swore before Jacob and gave it all away. The Bible says that Esau ate, drank, got up and left, despising his birthright. But this was only the first act of the plan. The real coup was still to come, and it would be much bolder. Jacob had the legal right now, but something crucial was missing: his father's blessing. And to get it, he would have to cross a dangerous line. Isaac was old. His eyes could no longer see anything. He knew his death was near, and it was time to bless his firstborn son. He called Esau and asked, "Go hunt for me. Prepare that tasty food I love, and then I will give you my blessing." But Rebekah heard everything, and she had her favorites. Jacob was the chosen one of her heart. Quickly, she devised a risky plan and called Jacob. "I heard your father talking to Esau. Now obey me. Get 2 young goats, and I will prepare the food your father loves. You will take it to him and receive the blessing instead of Esau." Jacob hesitated, not out of conscience, but out of fear of being discovered. "My brother is hairy, and I have smooth skin. What if my father touches me? He will realize I'm a deceiver and will curse me." But Rebekah was determined. "Let the curse fall on me, my son. Just obey." So she dressed Jacob in Esau's clothes, covered his hands and neck with goatskin to imitate his brother's hair, and sent him off. The stage was set. The greatest deception was about to happen. A blind father, a disguised son, a stolen blessing. Jacob entered his father's tent, his heart racing. "My father," he said with a trembling voice. "Who are you, my son?" asked Isaac. "I am Esau, your firstborn. I did as you commanded. Get up, eat from my game and bless me." Isaac was suspicious. "How did you get it so fast?" "The Lord your God helped me," Jacob lied. The tension was unbearable. "Come closer so I can touch you and know if you are really Esau." Jacob approached. Isaac felt his hairy hands. "The voice is Jacob's, but the hands are Esau's." The old patriarch was confused, but continued, "Are you really my son Esau?" "I am," he lied again. Then Isaac ate, drank, and finally said, "Come and kiss me, my son." When Jacob approached, Isaac smelled his clothes and recognized Esau's scent, and then he pronounced the irrevocable blessing. "Now tell me something. Do you think Jacob went too far? Comment below what you would do in this situation." But wait, because the story is far from over. When Esau discovered what happened, his reaction was devastating, and Jacob would have to flee to save his own life.
Esau returned from the hunt radiant, prepared the delicious food and took it to his father. "Get up, my father, and eat from your son's game so you may bless me." Isaac trembled violently. "Who are you?" "I am your son, your firstborn, Esau." The silence that followed was deafening. Isaac, realizing what had happened, began to tremble uncontrollably. "Then who was it that brought me game? I ate everything before you arrived, and I blessed him, and blessed he shall be." Esau let out a loud and bitter cry, a cry of pain that echoed through the tent. "Bless me too, my father, bless me too." But Isaac responded with a broken voice. "Your brother came with deceit and took your blessing. No wonder his name is Jacob," Esau shouted with hatred. "He has deceived me twice. He took my birthright, and now he has stolen my blessing. Haven't you kept any blessing for me?" Isaac's answer was devastating. He had already given everything to Jacob. Esau wept loudly, with tears of rage and betrayal. And then, deep in his heart, something dark was born. Revenge. "I will kill Jacob," he swore. And Rebekah, upon hearing this, knew she needed to act fast. Her favorite son needed to flee immediately.
Jacob fled with only the clothes on his back, leaving behind everything he knew. The journey to Haran, land of his uncle Laban, would be long and dangerous. He was alone, pursued, and carrying the weight of guilt. At nightfall of the first day, exhausted, Jacob took a stone as a pillow and slept in the open. But that night, something extraordinary happened. He had a dream that would change his life forever. He saw a ladder resting on the earth, whose top reached the heavens. Angels of God were ascending and descending on it, and at the top, God himself was standing. For the first time, God spoke directly to Jacob. "I am the Lord, the God of Abraham and Isaac. I will give you and your descendants this land. Your offspring will be like the dust of the earth, and through you all families of the earth will be blessed. I will be with you. I will watch over you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land." Jacob woke up startled, in a cold sweat. "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it." That deceiver, that thief of blessings, was being reached by God's grace. He took the stone that had served as his pillow, raised it as a memorial, and poured oil on it. And there he made a solemn vow to God. After weeks of walking, Jacob finally arrived in Haran. He was tired, but hopeful. As he approached a well, he saw shepherds with their flocks and a young woman approaching. When his eyes met hers, something happened. It was Rachel, daughter of Laban, his cousin. The Bible says that Jacob wept aloud upon meeting her. He was in love. Laban received him with celebration, but he was as cunning as Jacob himself. When Jacob asked for Rachel's hand in marriage, Laban smiled. "Work for me 7 years and she will be yours." Jacob accepted immediately. Those 7 years passed like days because of the love he felt. Finally, the wedding day arrived. The party was grand, but when night fell, Laban executed his plan. He covered the bride with veils and took her to Jacob.
The next morning, when the sunlight entered the tent, Jacob woke up and looked to the side. It wasn't Rachel. It was Leah, the older sister. The deceiver had been deceived. Furious, Jacob confronted Laban. "What have you done to me? Didn't I work for Rachel?" Laban responded coldly, "Here we don't give the younger before the older." The irony was cruel. Jacob, who had passed ahead of his older brother, was now a victim of the same logic. Laban offered Rachel too, but for 7 more years of work.
Jacob worked 20 long years for Laban. 20 years of forced exile, far from home, far from everything he knew. He married 2 sisters, Leah and Rachel, and also had children with their maidservants. In this turbulent time, marked by jealousy and rivalry between the wives, 12 sons and 1 daughter were born. These 12 boys, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and Benjamin, would become the patriarchs of the 12 tribes of Israel, God's chosen people. But life with Laban was a constant battle. His father-in-law was as deceitful as he himself had been with Esau and Isaac. The Bible records that Laban changed Jacob's wages 10 times, always trying to take him at a disadvantage, always trying to take advantage. If the speckled ones are your wages, all have speckled young. If the striped ones, all have striped. He changed according to his greed. But something extraordinary was happening. The more Laban tried to deceive Jacob, the more God blessed him. It was as if God was returning in blessings everything Jacob had lost with his past deceptions. Jacob's flocks multiplied supernaturally. His sheep and goats were the strongest, the healthiest, the most fertile. Jacob was becoming extremely wealthy, powerful, and prosperous, with male and female servants and camels.
Jacob was returning home after 20 years of exile. His caravan was immense. 2 wives, 2 maidservants, 11 sons, 1 daughter, servants, and thousands of animals. Everything he had conquered was there. But when the messengers returned with the news that Esau was coming to meet him with 400 armed men, panic took over Jacob. 400 men? This was not a friendly reception. It was an army of war. The question hammered in his mind, does my brother still want to kill me? Desperate and terrified, Jacob divided his entire camp into 2 groups. If Esau attacked one, at least the other could escape. Then he sent absurd gifts ahead. 200 goats, 200 male goats, 200 sheep, 20 rams, 30 camels with their young, 40 cows, 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys, and 10 male donkeys. Everything to try to calm the fury of the brother he had betrayed. At nightfall, Jacob made his family cross the ford of the Jabbok stream. Women, children, servants, all crossed safely. And then, intentionally, Jacob stayed completely alone on the other side. There, in the total darkness of night, without witnesses, without help, the most mysterious and transformative event of his life happened. Suddenly, from the shadows, a man appeared. The man grabbed Jacob with brutal force, and they began to fight. It was not an ordinary fight. It was something supernatural, intense, desperate. Jacob fought with all his strength, as if his very soul was at stake. The 2 rolled on the ground, grabbed each other, pushed each other. Neither could defeat the other. The hours dragged on. The moon crossed the sky while the fight continued without stopping. Jacob sweated, panted, but did not give up. His whole life had been a struggle, against his brother, against his father-in-law, against circumstances. And now, there, alone in the darkness, he was fighting against something much greater. It was not just a physical fight, it was spiritual. It was Jacob fighting with himself, with his past, with his mistakes, with God. When the first light of dawn began to break on the horizon, the man said, "Let me go, for the day is breaking." But Jacob, even exhausted, even with his body aching, shouted with fierce determination,
"No, I will not let you go unless you bless me." It was at that moment that the man touched the socket of Jacob's thigh. Instantly, his hip was dislocated. The pain was unbearable, piercing, cutting like fire. Any normal man would have let go and fallen to the ground screaming, but not Jacob. Even limping, even with pain exploding in his body, he held on even tighter. He was not going to give up. Not now, not after everything. The man looked deeply into Jacob's eyes and asked, "What is your name?"
Jacob, he answered. And by saying his own name, he was confessing everything: the deceiver, the liar, the thief of blessings. But the man declared, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with men, and you have prevailed." Israel, Prince of God. Jacob asked, "Tell me your name." But the man replied, "Why do you ask my name?" And then he blessed him right there. Jacob realized the terrifying and wonderful truth: I saw God face to face and survived. The sun rose over a transformed Jacob, but limping. When he saw Esau with the 400 men, he organized his family and went ahead, bowing 7 times. His heart was beating hard. Then the miracle happened. Esau ran, hugged Jacob, and cried. The 2 brothers reconciled in tears. Esau met his nephews and received the gifts. Jacob said, "To see your face is like seeing the face of God." From Jacob, the deceiver, to Israel, father of a nation, his 12 sons would become the 12 tribes of Israel. Reflect. How many times have you thought your mistakes were too big for God to forgive? Jacob shows us that God transforms the imperfect, forgives deceivers, and redeems the broken. If this story touched your heart, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and take the opportunity to watch this video that is showing on the screen. I'm sure you'll like it. See you there.